Spires reaching on an error for the first of 3 times he did that last night.
Yeah, that's a rare thing for a hitter to reach on an error 3 different times. Brian Hunter just clanked that one in left field. Later on, a ground ball to second base, a play that probably should have been called a base hit, but went for an error, regardless of play that the Cardinals would like to have made.
The Astros did make some good plays. Spires starts a couple double plays here.
Shane Reynolds did not have his best location last night, but he made good pitches when he had to, and the club made some real good plays behind him. This is a sparkling double play right here on a tough hop started by Billy Spires.
And then even Billy Wagner, who doesn't get a lot of double play balls, got one here.
He usually rides his fastballs, so it's either strikeouts or fly balls, but a key ground ball there to get Gary Gaetti.
The Astros defensively seem to be a much better club this year. They've made far few errors than they had at this time a year ago. Not as many double plays, but the fielding percentage is up.
And that was one of the concerns coming out of spring training. Larry Dierker was concerned about the defensive play in spring, but obviously the Astros have turned it up and really played good in the field.
Mike Hampton will start tonight for Houston. He had a bad start last time out as he came off the disabled list. Matt Morris hasn't started since April for St. Louis.
It was understandable that Hampy would struggle with his location last time out because of the time off, so we may see the same from Morris tonight. An outstanding rookie year last year for Morris.
We have more coming as Jim Deshaies has a chat with Billy Wagner. Notched the save last night. We're back with that in just a moment.
Stadium, everybody. Jim Deshaies outside the Astros dugout, joined now by Billy Wagner. And Wags, starting off the second half, as you ended the first half, 21 of 22 save opportunities this year. You're really on a roll.
Well, you know, I've been lucky. We've had a lot of opportunities, and anytime you get out there on a constant basis, you're gonna, you know, things are gonna work out a lot more than they're not. And you know, when you got an offense that's gonna give you some run support, and you have good guys in the bullpen to set you up, things happen.
Well, speaking of good guys in the bullpen, the club over the break added Jay Powell from the Marlins. How do you think he'll fit into the scheme of things?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, it gives you a little bit more experience and a fresh arm. I tell you, I think it saves Doug Henry from throwing 2 innings a lot of times, and you know, it gives him a break to where Jay can come in and get an inning and also set up. And I mean, he also has experience closing, so you know, in days when I can, he can.
Playing the St. Louis Cardinals with all the attention that's on Mark McGwire, you being a power pitcher, he a power hitter, is that a confrontation that you look forward to? Do you relish facing McGwire? Are the dynamics changed because of all the attention he's getting?
Well, I think so. I mean, as a power pitcher, you want to face the guys with the big names and the guys that can hit the long ball, because you know they're going to strike out just as much as they're going to hit the home run, if not more. So, yeah, especially with McGwire, you know, you don't want him to hit that home run off of you, but I mean, if he does, it's you know, you're not going to feel too bad because hey, he's done it to a lot of guys.
Because of the attention he's getting, is there a tendency to try to reach back and maybe try to get a little extra when you pitch against a guy like that?
Yeah, I think there is. I've been fortunate about that because I think last year a lot of times that I'd try to get by guys that, you know, I really should have stayed within myself. And here lately, when guys come up like that, I just try to make pitches to the outside corner where guys, you know, are not going to hurt me as much.
Well, that's a good point, because last night, the game ender, you had a chat with Tony right before the last pitch of the game, and you made a great pitch down and away.
Yeah, well, you know, it was, I come out there and I really couldn't tell what he was calling, and I said, you know, Tony, what do you think about a fastball win? He goes, well, that's what I've been calling. And I said, all right, and, you know, it just worked out. You know, it seemed like Gaetti wasn't very comfortable in there against me this time, and it just seemed things worked out.
They sure did. A great job last night. Thanks for being our guest, Billy. We'll be right back with starting lineups and the first pitch.
Today, and we think it'll be all right probably during the game tonight. Could be some more tomorrow. It will be a hot one tomorrow, Jim. It'll be a day game starting at noon. We're back on the air again Sunday, and it's a good series for the fans to watch as they hopefully are in an air-conditioned atmosphere in Houston.
It's going to be hot the next 2 days. Be tough on the pitchers when you have to come out and pitch on a smoking hot day. Good thing Lima's going tomorrow. He's a hot weather guy. He shouldn't have any problems.
Be interesting to watch Lima tomorrow. He goes against Kent Merker. Larry Dierker's starting pitchers have really done well in the first half. Lima's 7-5. Sean Bergman goes Sunday when we're back on the air. He's 8-4. And certainly those two guys and Pete Shurik have made it a very strong rotation. Now you wonder, can they keep doing it through the second half, through the hot months?
I think that's one of the concerns, and that's one of the reasons why Scott Ellerton is on this ball club. To tell you the truth, he's going to be working out of the pen, but he's out there waiting his opportunity should somebody falter.
Cardinals take the field. Tony La Russa's ball club 7 under 500 for the first time this year. They've lost 11 of their last 14, and many of those losses have been to clubs under 500 this year. So they're 13.5 back for the first time this year. Starting lineup for the Astros, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. They go with Craig Biggio at second base, Bill Spires at third base. Then it's Derek Bell in right field. He's tied for the batting lead in the National League now at .337. Jeff Bagwell's at first base. Moises Alou in left field. Carl Everett in center. Ricky Gutierrez the shortstop. Brad Ausmus is the catcher for Mike Hampton. Matt Morris, who, like Todd Stottlemyre last night, will be batting eighth. Has no wins or losses. That start came back in April before he had to strengthen his shoulder, Jim.
Yeah, coming off a big rookie year last year where he won 12 games, 3.19 ERA. Tops among rookies. He finished third in the National League Rookie of the Year voting last season.
Cardinals have made 65 errors, 10 more than the Astros. They have Willie McGee, Ray Lankford, and Brian Jordan in the outfield. Gary Gaetti, Royce Clayton, Luis Ordaz, and Mark McGuire join Morris and Eli Marrero on the infield. The umpires are Gary Darling behind the plate, Mike Winters, Larry Poncino, and Steve Ripley. Tony La Russa's ball club just really torpedoed itself last night. La Russa had a lengthy meeting with his club right after the final game before the All-Star break, trying to address a lot of the problems the Cardinals have been having, and some of those are up the middle defensively. Of course, he's got some injuries. Clayton just came back last night, but Delino DeShields will be out for the next 2 weeks at least after knee surgery. Craig Biggio at .318 has 12 homers and 50 runs batted in. Continues to lead the league in runs scored with 75. Matt Morris, like Biggio, a Seton Hall man, throws strike one. Biggio has 110 base hits. Mike Hampton has completed his warm-up tosses. He's on his way in from the bullpen. Biggio fifth in the league in base hits. And he takes 1 ball, 1 strike. Biggio 2 for 6 against Morris, including a homer. Morris, like Biggio, a first-round draft choice out of Seton Hall. Breaking pitch away, 2 balls and a strike. Morris made his major league debut against the Astros last year. And in 2 starts, he didn't have a decision, but his ERA was 1.64. He's from Middletown, New York. Biggio on a high heater. Didn't catch up with it. 2-2.
Yeah, when right, he's got a power arm. Explosive fastball, has a very good curveball as well.
Biggio 0 for 5 last night, only the 3rd time all year he has started a game and hasn't been able to reach base in any way. He's down this time as Morris opens with a K. Nice start for Morris, who's had a lengthy rehab assignment in the minor leagues to get ready, and he probably will be held to 80 pitches tonight.
This is a slider just off the outside corner, has good late movement. He's got to be pumped up. It's been a long time since he's been on a big league mound.
It really has. April 11th, his only start. Manny Ibar was optioned to AAA Memphis to make room for Morris, coming off the disabled list tonight. Bill Spires last night was 0 for 4. His strike one, but he was a thorn in the Cardinals' side. He's hitting .286 with 2 homers and 26 runs batted in. He drew a walk and he was on base 3 times on errors. Spires scored 2 runs in that game. He moves back from a fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike. What a catalyst he's been right behind Biggio since he's moved to second in the order just about a month ago. He's hit .333 and his on-base average .480. Fouls it away. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I give Larry Dierker credit for tinkering with the first place club. A lot of managers wouldn't make that change, but he saw an opportunity to make the club better.
It really has been better. Well, the Astros have improved in many ways since he put Spires in the number 2 hole or against left-handed pitching. Ricky Gutierrez and Bagwell hitting 4th has come alive too. That was always the fear, that Bagwell might not hit as well batting 4th as when he hit 3rd. It's worked out just great for the Astros. Rolled up the first base line. It stays fair, and Morris gets there and tags out Spires, trying to go airborne over him. Morris couldn't wait any longer for that ball to go foul, so he takes care of out number 2 himself.
Pretty nimble for a 6'5", 210-pounder.
Oh, wow. Spires has been bothered by a groin injury, too. This wouldn't be very good for that.
Tries to hurdle Morris. I think he came down hard, too, on his wrist.
Sure did. Derek Bell's on a 9-game hitting streak now. There's strike one to Bell, as we mentioned, now tied for the league lead with a .337 batting average, 12 homers and 62 runs batted in. Derek was 2 for 5 last night. He and Dante Bichette currently share the lead. Good sinker makes it 0-2 to Derek.
This guy is rushing it up there, Brownie. They're getting him on the gun here in this ballpark. 96, 97. I've even seen a couple 98s.
There's a 96. Dave Duncan's got to be pleased with what he's seen so far from Morris. Breaking ball away. 1 ball, 2 strikes during Bell's 9-game hitting streak. He's hit .459. And against the Cardinals, he's hit .500, 9 for 18. The Astros are 2-2 against St. Louis. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Pitching has indeed been the biggest part of the Cardinal problem. Not the only problem, certainly. But their ERA, 4.79, might have been assisted quite a bit lower for Tony La Russa if Morris had been in the rotation all year. The Astros can say that same thing about some of their injured pitchers. Tony doesn't like to use injuries as an excuse, and we have to give him credit for that.
Yeah, you're right. Whenever he's asked about it, he says, hey, everybody gets injuries in this game. You have to play around them. But those of us who know what these pitchers are capable of doing know that the Cardinals have really been hurt. The absence of Morris, Alan Bennett, and Donovan Osborne.
Bell rips a base hit to left field. He has a 10-game hitting streak, and he is just torrid right now.
Batting forward for 5, first baseman Jeff Bagwell.
Gives Big Mac a slap on the back as he arrives at first base as the Astros' first base runner.
That curveball hung on Morris. Good look at Derek Bell's swing right there. A little slip coming out of the box.
He plants that one into left field and reaches for Jeff Bagwell. Bagwell at 275 has 19 long balls, 55 runs batted in. Bagwell takes a strike, good fastball. Jeff last night 0 for 3 with 2 walks. He stole 2 bases. And Larry Durker said to some of the media after the game, gee, if Biggio and Bagwell had combined for 0 for 8 in a game last year, we probably wouldn't have won it. Bagwell right off the thumbs to shortstop Royce Clayton, who gets him, and that's a very fine first inning for Morris. No runs, a hit, and a man left. Astros nothing, Redbirds coming up. Cardinals come up now. They are 23-16 in their home ballpark this year. Here's the lineup for Tony La Russa tonight, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Royce Clayton, the shortstop, leads it off for St. Louis, followed by Ray Lankford at center field. Mark McGuire's at first base with Brian Jordan, the right fielder. It's Willie McGee getting the nod tonight in left field. Gary Gaetti's at third base. Luis Ordaz, the second baseman. Matt Morris, the pitcher, is batting 8th. And Eli Marrero, the catcher, is hitting 9th. That's the second night in a row Tony La Russa has batted his starting pitcher 8th. Mike Hampton's 8-4. His ERA 9th best in the league, 2.93, Jim.
Yeah, he's had a lot of success against this club. 6-3 lifetime against the Redbirds with a 2.11 earned run average.
Hampton has walked 42 in 107 1/3 innings. Fanning 66. Clayton gets it going. There's ball 1 to Royce, who returned off the disabled list last night to go 1 for 4. 240 his average, 2 homers, 24 runs batted in. Base hit to center field for Royce Clayton, who was injured with a strained left side. He has 17 steals in 23 attempts. He's on for Ray Lankford. Defensively, the Astros have an outfield of Alou, Everett, and Bell, an infield of Spires, Gutierrez, Biggio, Bagwell, Hampton, and Osmus. Ray Lankford, 31-year-old veteran outfielder who hit 31 homers a year ago and drove in 98. So far this season has 12 homers, 40 runs batted in, a 264 average. And he's walked 52 times. Mark McGuire on deck. Lankford hit a homer last night. There's ball one to Ray. Lankford, a third-round choice of the Cardinals in '87. Good, solid player defensively and at the plate. Hampton catches the corner, 1-1. Lankford taking one out last night against Shane Reynolds.
He's got a quick back. Showed you there how he could turn on an inside fastball.
Cardinals have hit 107 homers. They're third in the league. Double play depth for Gutierrez and Biggio here. Hampton misses. 2 balls and a strike. Hampton did not have a minor league rehab assignment coming off his injury. He threw one simulated game in the Astrodome. That didn't go very well. He didn't throw a lot of strikes. Wasn't sharp when he lost to Arizona Saturday night, 7-4. 3 of the runs he allowed, though, were unearned. 2-2. Generally speaking, the pitcher would require some time to get back in the groove after missing 2 weeks, but Hampton is a very well-conditioned athlete. His injury was not to his arm, it was to the groin.
But you lose your touch when you're not on the mound in game situations. Sometimes it takes a couple of starts to lock back in.
Very fine road pitcher, Mike Hampton, this year. Upstairs to Lankford. It's 3-2. 6-2 with a 2.63 ERA away from home, and the Astros have won 12 of his 16 starts. Hampton might have been an all-star had it not been for the injury. Ball 4. Lankford walks for the 53rd time. Now 2 on, nobody out for Mark McGuire. This will be the first time Hampton has faced him.
Hampton's just setting up the triple play ball here early.
In anticipation of McGuire, the fans are already cheering. They're averaging 37,877 here, many of them to see McGuire. McGuire last night, though, 1 for 3 with a walk. 310, 37 homers to lead the league, 87 RBIs leading the league. There's ball 1 to McGuire. McGuire has not hit a homer since June 30th against Kansas City. His longest stretch without one this year, 10 days back in April. 2-0. Brad Ausmus out to help Hampton deal with falling behind the hitter.
Maybe getting together on the signs, but maybe out there. Obviously a dangerous count early in the ball game, 2-0 with McGuire hitting. Maybe saying, look, if I put fastball down, let's make sure we just don't throw a triple down the middle of the plate. Let's still try to make a quality pitch here.
2 balls and no strikes. Oh, that is a quality pitch, and it's 2-1. Tony Eusebio made an interesting comment tonight before the game about how he and Shane Reynolds approached Mark McGuire. And Doug Henry did a good job to get him out on a slider on a 3-2 pitch. He said, well, McGuire said at the home run hitting contest that the batting practice pitcher was throwing the ball middle of the plate and away. In the air, right center field. Everett gets there. Runner tags at second. Here's the throw as Clayton moves over to third. It goes into second base, and McGuire is retired for the first out. And Eusebio said, well, if he doesn't like the ball away, he decided that's the way we'd pitch him.
That's the way Shane had success against him. Said Mac, after that home run hitting contest, was complaining that the BP pitcher was throwing everything middle away. And it goes against the McGuire book of old. It used to be he liked the ball down, out over the plate a little bit, and you could crowd him in, but apparently he's looking for the ball inside.
Brian Jordan, until last night, was leading the league in hitting. 336, 15 homers, 57 runs batted in after Jordan went 0 for 3 last night. He goes for a breaking ball down. Very good pitch. Strike 1 to Jordan. Jordan has power too this year. 15 long balls, 57 runs batted in. Batting in McGuire's wake. He's hit well against Hampton in his career, but Mike would love a double play ball right now. Makes the toss to first. Cardinals have some options here with speed on at the corners. Lankford stole a base last night. He has 8 in 11 tries. Jordan's a fast runner. He's tough to double. He has grounded into 11 though this year. Must be hitting the ball sharply at a lot of people this season.
And Hampton has induced 18 double play balls, most in the league. Which is really impressive for a guy who pitches his home games on turf.
Jim, it looked like the first pitch he threw was a cut fastball or slider down. That is an excellent double play pitch.
Yeah, get it in on his hands and make him hit on top of the ball.
Foul back. 0-2 to Brian Jordan.
Bottom line with any of these good hitters, Jordan, McGuire, Lankford, you can't pitch them consistently one way. Got to move the ball in and out, up and down against them, change speeds.
He is feasting on southpaws. .413, leading the National League in batting average against left-handed pitching. There's that pitch again, and he got him. Well, double play is great, but a strikeout is fine also. 2 outs now.
Especially against a guy who's hitting lefties at a .413 clip. This is a dandy. Watch the break on this pitch. Just bites down hard and in. Great pitch.
Jordan retired. That's a huge out after getting McGuire. Hampton is just setting up quite a challenge for himself tonight, facing McGuire and Jordan. Willie McGee at 263 has a homer and 22 runs batted in. There's that same pitch again to him. Strike one. Hampton has really perfected that cut fastball to a right-handed batter. Bill Spires, his third baseman, usually gets a lot of work when he's pitching because right-handed batters tend to hit over the top of it and pull a ground ball to third base. McGee 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter last night. But the thing Mike really changed about his style last year was that he then started working right-handed batters away as well, and he might have been becoming too predictable in the sense that he would just keep pounding those right-handed batters.
You have to give him a different look. It's a sinker, a perfect complement to that cutter, and he also has the good changeup away as well.
And as you see, the right-handed hitters this year are hitting for a high average against him, but we need to qualify that a little bit because he's only allowed 5 home runs all season. So what he's doing really is allowing himself to get a lot of ground ball outs, give up more hits and innings pitched, and still have a low ERA. Line drive, Biggio, and that'll do it for the first. The Cardinals had quite a threat. They had 2 on and nobody out. McGuire, Jordan, and McGee are retired to make it 0-0 after 1. Ball game after 1 here in St. Louis, and Astros fans, here's your chance to win $1,000 instantly. Call 713-HOUSTON during the first 2 innings of tonight's game. Enter the access code BALL and have your driver's license handy. Pick an Astros player to hit a home run in the 3rd inning. If we select your name and the Astro you chose hits a homer, you win $1,000. And good luck. Unfortunately, we didn't get a winner last night. There's strike 1 to Moises Alou.
Well, we'll just keep the money, Brownie. We'll go out to dinner.
Doesn't work that way, pal.
Come on.
Alou with 20 homers, 75 runs batted in. Fastball's away, and it's 1-1. Alou on a 4-game hitting streak. He delivered a couple of very big base hits last night, both with 2 outs in the 5th inning and the 7th inning to drive in runs. Foul back. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Alou 5th in the league in slugging right now. And he has just been phenomenal in those crunch situations like he did last night, Jim.
It's just so quick.
Who's that?
Who are those guys?
I don't know what that's all about. Strike 3 call. Alou looks at a breaking ball. Morris gets a 2nd strikeout.
That guy's got an Astro hat on, the
Yeah.
leader of the group, obviously.
Batting 6, number 3.
Black t-shirt, can't read the insignia on it though.
He got Bidge with a slider earlier. Here's another one. This is a nasty one. Boy, if that's a strike all night long, we're in for a tough, tough night. Pitch is unhittable.
Carl Everett brings a left-handed bat up there. .335, 9 homers and 47 runs batted in for Everett. His 5th in the league in batting average now. They strike 1 to Carl on a 4-game hitting streak. Everett ripped one out of the ballpark last night. He went 2 for 5 and drove in 2. Curveball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike to Carl. A year ago, Everett had 205 on the road. 372 is his road average right now.
Got to give Barry Waters credit.
Traveling secretary deserves a little bit. 1 and 2. Matt Morris is very good stuff. A lot of life on the fastball. Sharp breaking stuff. What a lift he could provide St. Louis. Foul back, 1 and 2. You mentioned the other guys still out though. Alan Bennis, it's hoped, might be coming back in August, and the same perhaps true for Donovan Osborne. There's Bennis. Cardinals in Morris and Bennis have 2 fine, young, hard-throwing right-handers who've been out of the rotation all year. In the dirt, he went for it, a curveball, and Marrero throws him out to complete the 3rd strikeout of the game for Morris. 2 outs. Ricky Gutierrez follows.
Again, it's a breaking pitch. Takes a little bit off this one. See, he shortens his stride a little bit to get on top of that ball a little bit more and give it a deeper break. I'm not so sure he took a swing at that.
He wasn't either. Jerry Darling was. Ricky Gutierrez rolls one to McGuire. And he goes down on 1 pitch to make it a very fine 2nd inning for Morris. 0-0.
Go back to St. Louis, everybody. No score. After 1.5, Friday, July 17th, Astros and the Giants do battle at 7:05. First 15,000 fans to the gate. We receive a set of 3 collector's marbles from Posh International.
You've seen those marbles. What do you think of them?
I love them.
What color are they?
Gorgeous. Well, the one I saw was kind of off-white, a little translucent, perhaps. Some writing on it. I don't remember exactly what it said. Houston Astros or...
Really?
I don't remember exactly.
Pretty snazzy marbles.
Yeah, oh yeah, not your run-of-the-mill marble.
You don't want to go outside and bang these around on the sidewalk now.
No.
All right. Look forward to seeing those. Of course, you are a privileged person. You got the advanced preview.
I went down to the bank, into the safety deposit box.
You had to have someone let you in and then let you out afterwards. Gary Gaetti gets it going. Gets one in the air to right center field. Derek Bell waiting in right. There's 1 out for Mike Hampton, who decided to give himself a breather to start this inning, unlike the last one. Boy, that's instant trouble with 2 men on, nobody out, facing Mark McGuire. Luis Ordaz now with 36 at-bats, playing second base. He's normally a shortstop, hitting only 111. Cardinals are definitely wounded. They just got Clayton back off the shelf, and Ordaz was playing some shortstop when Clayton was out, but now DeShields has gone down. Ordaz, 23 years old, had 22 at-bats with the Cardinals last year. Hampton brings one in the back door to him. There's strike 1. Ordaz from Maracaibo, Venezuela. He was signed by Cincinnati in '92 as a free agent, traded to the Cardinals in '95. Swings and fouls one back, and it's 0-2 to Luis Ordaz.
Oh, what a play.
Really?
Yes. There he is. See, he's actually sitting in the row in front of that. He made the play, toppled over the seats,
very
stomped all over that
move.
lady's feet, spilled her drink, but he made the play.
He's a little pump. Hampton comes upstairs. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Mike Hampton started this year 5-0 with a 2.84 ERA. His ERA isn't much higher now than it was then, but he's 8-4. Ground ball to Spires. And a long throw to a stretching Bagwell gets Ordaz. That's what we were talking about earlier. Hampton will give his third baseman usually a lot of business.
That's a perfect example of it right there, Brownie. That cutter in. He makes as good a use of that pitch of anybody I've seen. Dave Dravecky, I remember, had a real good cutter. But Hampy throws his with good depth, too. Basically, it's a slider when he has depth to it.
Here's the pitcher batting 8th, Matt Morris. A strike 1 to him. We explained it last night, but you might not have been with us. Tony La Russa wants to have a little bit better on-base action in front of Mark McGuire. So he's batting the pitcher 8th and a position player 9th. The 1 and 2 hitters have not been creating a lot of opportunities for McGuire lately. 1 ball, 1 strike. Last night, Todd Stottlemyre got a base hit and scored a run batting 8th. 1 and 2, and that was the first time a pitcher had batted 8th, starting pitcher, since 1979 when Steve Carlton hit 8th in front of Bud Harrelson with the Phillies. Two balls, 2 strikes. It was interesting to sample the reaction of some of the Astros position players to that move. They really feel it's a slap in the face, some of them, to the position player to be batting 9th. Strike call. Morris is caught looking. And now, not the pitcher leading off the next inning, but the catcher. Anyway, it'll be the number 9 hitter, and it's 0-0 after 2. Houston Astros baseball is being brought to you in part by Southwest Airlines. With fares so low, you have the freedom to go places. And by the Sourdough Jack from Jack in the Box. 2 million antenna balls can't be wrong. Well, we've had a rousing start to this one. Mike Hampton had quite a jam, having to get McGuire, Jordan, and McGee, but it is 0-0 going to the 3rd inning. So let's have some fun, JD.
All right.
With our home run contest. And you can win $1,000 by dialing 713-HOUSTON. Tonight's contestant, Denisa Emling. She has selected Jeff Bagwell. So if Bagwell comes up in the 3rd inning, and it would take 5 players bat before him, so they'd need a rally for him to come up, she can win $1,000 if he hits a homer. There's strike 1 to Brad Ausmus.
Denisa, not a selfish player. She's a team player playing for the big inning.
Yeah. Ausmus at 251. Tony Eusebio caught last night, had 3 hits. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now Bagwell comes up and hits a grand slam. Then Denisa wins 25,000 big ones tonight. Wouldn't that be fun?
Going for the big prize.
Oh,
good strategy.
That's a setup. Ausmus takes a strike. Brad had a very fine month of June, and by now, with his 251 batting average, he's erased what happened in April when he hit 120. 4 homers, 24 runs batted in for Brad, and he's gone 5 for 8 against St. Louis pitching this year. In fact, he's a .328 lifetime hitter against the Redbirds. Breaking ball, base hit center field. He stayed on that pitch. It was down. Not that bad a pitch, but Brad with 2 strikes put a nice solid cut on it. There's a start for Denisa.
Keep that line moving for Denisa. He's gotten strikeouts, a couple strikeouts already with his breaking pitch. This one, although it's down, has a little bit more of the plate, and Ausmus is able to get to it. The strikeout pitches were either on the corner or just off it. Still a nice job of hitting behind in the count.
Yeah. Now Mike Hampton's around a bunt. He takes. There's a good pitch for a strike on the outside corner with McGuire and Gaetti charging. Hampton, very good hitter. .219, no homers, 2 runs batted in. Leads the Astros pitchers with 7 hits. He has 4 sacrifice bunts. And if the Cardinals should bobble a bunt, he has a chance to beat it out with his speed. Hampton had 1 in Detroit, and then he was pitching in Cincinnati on June 15th. 3 scoreless innings. He had to come out during a rain delay, left with the left groin strain. He puts it down to the pitcher. Morris takes a look at second, but he goes to first. That's where it really helps to have Brad Ausmus running instead of a slower type catcher. Even though Mike bunted it right back to Morris, Ausmus had a good enough jump to get close enough that they didn't want to try for the out there.
We saw Mike Hampton going down the line somewhat cautiously. Last thing he needs to do is aggravate that groin injury.
Yes, sir. Craig Biggio struck out in the 1st inning. Very interesting article written about Biggio for MVP this year on the ESPN Sports Zone website by Tim Kirkchin, fine baseball writer with Sports Illustrated. Here's strike one to Biggio. Kirkchin starts off by saying the most valuable player in the National League has 12 home runs, not 37, not 33. He has 50 RBIs, not 87. Biggio fouls it back, 0-2. Kirkchin writes, fans don't arrive early to watch him take batting practice. He usually leads the league in times hit by pitch, hardly the game's sexiest category. He is not recognizable to the casual fan, but he's easy to find. He is often the guy with the dirtiest uniform on the field. And it goes on from there. Build a case for Biggio for MVP. Speared by the pitcher Morris. Now they've got a rundown on Ausmus. Gaetti gets it to Clayton. Back to Gaetti. And here goes Biggio into second. And Ausmus tagged out, but Brad was hung up long enough so that Biggio got all the way to second base. So you don't want to get caught in a rundown, but if you do, try to keep the fielders occupied, and Brad did that.
You talk about that athleticism of Ausmus, and that's exactly what happens here. He gets caught too far off. But, when you got Ausmus and Biggio involved, you're confident you've got two players with good instincts that know how to play the game. And actually, it's a great trade-off here. You got Biggio in scoring position instead of Brad.
And either way, you're right. You got a runner at second and 2 outs, but in this case, it is Biggio. And Ausmus gets to get back early and put on the shin guard. So that worked out, perhaps, if Bill Spires can deliver. Spires was retired by Morris first time. There's strike one. That play went from 1, 5, 6, 5, 4. Tony La Russa really is a detail man. Certainly you don't like to have your ball club, if you're Tony La Russa, make that many throws in a rundown. He might address that at some point. Strike call 0-2. The idea is not to have the rundown take that long, so Biggio doesn't have a chance to get to second. Biggio will lengthen his lead now. 0-2 the count. Spires calls time, steps away. Great 1-2 punch here at the top of the order for Houston. Biggio with .391 on base average. Spires .395. Now, if Tony La Russa had these two guys hitting 1 and 2 for him, he wouldn't have to be making this move with his pitcher hitting 8.
Absolutely right.
Spires goes down on a breaking ball in. Good pitch by Morris. He gets strikeout number 4. No runs a hit and a man left for Houston. Middle of the third, 0-0.
Bottom of the third upcoming. No score from Busch Stadium. Saturday, July 18th. Astros and the Giants play at 3:05. First 15,000 adults will receive a handy flashlight from Enron. 713-799-9567, the number to call.
Ooh, marbles, flashlights, and championship caliber baseball with the Giants and Astros both having very good seasons. JD, that's a weekend to remember.
Going to be a lot of fun. There's a look at the flashlights. High atop Busch Stadium.
Ah, yes. We do have the cloud cover tonight. It has cooled things down considerably. Pretty comfortable evening, all things considered. July in St. Louis. Now the number 9 hitter and the catcher, Eli Marrero. .240 his average. 1 home run and 3 runs batted in for Marrero, who was recalled from AAA Memphis on July 1st. He's been with the Cardinals, though, earlier this year. He's 2 for 8 in this stint in the big leagues. Very fine defensive player. Outstanding arm. There's ball 1 to Marrero. Has had an unfortunate beginning to this season. He had to have a cancerous thyroid gland removed in spring training. He fouls it 1-1. By this time next year, he probably, if he stays healthy, will have taken over behind the plate as the everyday catcher. He's had 50 major league at-bats so far this season. Base hit center field by Marrero. That's hit hit number 2, and they both come leading off the inning. In this case, Tony La Russa looks pretty good. His number 9 hitter gets on.
Probably what it'll come down to, Tony will use this experiment for a while and just watch the situations as they unfold and deem whether it's working or not. So far it has.
Well, after his years of managing Oakland in the American League, usually he would see a fairly speedy, pretty good on-base guy batting 9th with the designated hitter. Royce Clayton shot one through the middle into center field in the first inning. Ball 1 to Clayton. So he feels if he has a, of course, Marrero wouldn't fit that type. Polanco, who batted 9th, would be more like what we're talking about here. But a couple of guys who can run in the 9 and 1 hitters. And then Lankford, good speed, the number 2 spot ahead of McGuire. That would be some traffic on the bases if they deliver. Strike makes it 1-1.
In 1956, Bobby Bragan managed the Pirates, and at times he had his pitchers bat 7.
Really?
Yeah. Ahead of oftentimes Mazeroski and Dick Rote.
Wow. Rote won a batting title one year.
Yeah.
That's pretty surprising. In the hole, and diving Gutierrez. Vecchio made a good play to keep that from going into right field. There was no chance to give Marrero. Gutierrez tried it, but they do keep the runners at first and second now for Ray Lankford. That ball creeps into left field. Maybe Marrero's able to go to third. Probably not.
A good play nonetheless by Gutierrez. Showed earlier the batting average against Mike Hampton from the right side, 291. There's a lot of this. He puts the ball in play, doesn't walk many. A lot of infield hits, a lot of hits on turf at home through the infield. So it's a percentage game for him. If he gives up enough ground balls, he's going to get enough outs to be successful.
Ray Lankford walked on a 3-2 count in the first inning. 2 on, nobody out. There's strike 1 to Lankford. That's the second time the Cardinals have had this situation in the first 3 innings. But they have been far below par with men in scoring position. Lankford, too, has fallen off quite a bit.
Yeah, he's hitting just a .92 with runners in scoring position.
No balls and 2 strikes. Well, in this case, it's a good setup with McGuire on deck. We'll see if Hampton can get out of it like he did in the first inning.
In the first half of last year, when Mike Hampton was presented with a situation like this, I think those are the times that Durker was talking about, that he had to learn to let up a little bit. He'd try to hump up, and he'd leave the ball up in the zone instead of ground ball hits. That's when you get those ringing doubles into the gaps. That hasn't happened since the middle of last season.
Deep to right field. Lankford hits a 3-run bomb. 3-0 Cardinals as Lankford goes deep for the second time in as many nights. It came on an 0-2 pitch.
If Lankford keeps hitting home runs, there won't be anybody on base when McGuire hits.
Lankford's 13th long ball, his 43rd run batted in as he steps on the plate. Nobody out. McGuire the batter. Strike 1 to Mark. What a fabulous pursuit he's had of the Roger Maris record. 1-1. He's getting tired of talking about focus on home runs, though. Two balls and a strike to McGuire. McGuire up the right field line, and it slices and goes just foul. 2-2.
Made a bad pitch, middle of the plate. It was down, but too much of the plate.
It's only the 6th home run Hampton has allowed in 110 innings. McGuire lines to Bill Spires. Ooh, he ripped that one, and Spires had to go up and grab it. 1 out, a very hard hit out.
I'll get you play about 3 steps deeper next time he comes up.
Well, Renee Latchman is about as deep as he can get as the third base coach. He's way out of the coaching box, way back off the line when McGuire hits. Brian Jordan struck out in the 1st inning. Breaking ball. There's strike 1 on the curve. Hampton sometimes likes to throw that pitch often in games. Usually we don't see a lot of it. Spires at third. Takes care of Jordan. 2 outs. It's kind of an odd inning. The 9-hitter starts the rally. Then an infield hit by the leadoff man. McGuire and Jordan make the outs.
Hey, Tony La Russa's going to revolutionize the game here this week.
Willie McGee bats. He's remained such a crowd favorite. He got a tremendous ovation when he was announced as a pinch hitter last night. Ball 1 to McGee, who lined out to Craig Biggio in the 1st. McGee now 39 years old, and he hit 300 last year for 300 at-bats. Line drive this time by Biggio into right field. McGee gets a 2-out single. That's the 4th hit of the inning. Gary Gaetti will be next.
McGee's a hard guy to pitch to. He's difficult to set up. He's kind of a slasher and a hacker up there. And one pitch you might make him look terrible, and throw the same one 2 pitches later, and he'll smoke it.
Gaetti was born in Centralia, Illinois, not far at all from here. Last year hit 17 homers, drove in 69 runs. Began his career with Minnesota, then moved on to California, Kansas City, before joining the Cardinals in '96. And that year he drove in 80 runs. He tops it. Strike 1 to Gary Gaetti.
Sammy Sosa went deep again tonight, Browning.
Ooh, he's right on McGuire's tail.
35.
Griffey hit his 36th last night. How do the Cubs stand in that game?
1-1, 2nd inning.
Nice dig by Ausmus. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cubbies got blasted last night by Milwaukee, and their pitching was shredded in that ball game. But they have Kerry Wood on the mound tonight. McGuire and the Cardinals hoping that they can get closer to where the Cubs are, and have been. Cardinals trail by 13.5. The Cubs are 6 behind. Milwaukee's 9 games out. The Astros' current 6-game lead ties their biggest of the year. 2 balls and a strike. Gaetti went to college at Northwest Missouri State. He had been drafted by the Cardinals prior to college, but then was a secondary phase choice of Minnesota in '79. We did, after all, wind up in St. Louis. 2-2 to Gary. He's won 4 Gold Gloves, and last year he led third baseman in fielding percentage. Last night he played some second base late in the game, only the 2nd time in his career he's played that position in a big league game. In the dirt. Again, a good play by Ausmus, and it's 3-2 now.
Gary employing one of the oldest tactics in the trick by a veteran player. That is growing the beard, wearing it for a while, and then you shave it, and everybody goes, man, he's young. He's only 32. This guy can play 8 more years.
Spires gets another chance at third. Throws out Gaetti. But the Cardinals have a resounding blast from Ray Lankford. They get 3 runs on 4 hits and leave a man. They're in front 3-0 after 3. Cardinals on a home run by Ray Lankford in the third inning. Here's our trivia question brought to you by your Houston area Ford dealers. Name the 5 Major League players with the last name of Smith to play 300 or more games for the Cardinals. Well, we could start with Ozzie Smith and Lee Smith.
Yeah.
But 5?
How about Lonnie Smith?
Yeah, there's 3. We could be in some trouble after that, pal.
No way.
Well,
we're going to nail this one.
Have to buy some time for ourselves here as Derek Bell bats in the 4th. Slashing a line drive foul. There's strike 1 to Bell, who singled in the first inning. Smith. Well, the Cardinals, in their long and storied history, go back before the turn of the century, so there might be somebody way back there that we'd never get.
Probably
There's Ozzie.
Puddinhead Smith.
You got Ozzie. 0-2. He's doing TV for the Redbirds tonight. Maybe having some technical problems over there. Either that or he's ordering food. There's a strikeout, and it's number 5 for Morris. Yeah, his monitor went out.
Wizard doesn't need a monitor.
He didn't even need a glove when he played short, so he ought to be able to get by without a monitor. 42 pitches for Matt Morris. He probably won't throw more than 80 tonight. He started his rehab on a 30-pitch limit, worked his way up to 78 pitches against Nashville in his last outing. Jeff Bagwell rolled out to short earlier. There's strike 1 to him.
Pretty good incentive right there if they tell you before the game, look, we're going to give you 75 to 80 pitches now. If you can make that hold up for 5 innings, you got a chance to win a ball game.
Yes, sir.
And he has pumped a bunch of strikes in there.
Morris threw 217 innings last year. 1 ball, 1 strike. The feeling on the part of the Cardinals, we understand now, is that that tremendous load, much more than he had ever had, was what exposed some weakness in his shoulder, and he just had to strengthen it. 2 balls and a strike. So he's been to Salt Lake City, Memphis, and Nashville on those rehab assignments. And Dave Duncan hopes that now he can keep Morris in his starting rotation for the remainder of the season. Bagwell takes the off-speed pitch for ball 3. Morris said in the paper today in St. Louis, I'm looking for my arm to feel great, and that's not the case. I'm not in any pain. It just doesn't feel like it did last year. Ooh, high heat.
Now, it may not have before the game, but it does now.
Yeah, that's right. But he did say that on game day it's 100%, and that's all he can ask. He feels his recovery time between starts is a little bit longer than he'd like, especially if he has to really push hard during the game.
That's a breed. Pitchers can get a little neurotic about their arms.
Foul back, 3-2. Now they still have the same old wives' tales about don't sit next to an air conditioner on the bus, that kind of thing to protect your arm.
Yes and no. Some guys really adhere to it. Some guys always keep their arm covered. I've seen other guys. We've seen guys go out and pitch in 40-degree weather with no sleeves on.
Yeah, that's true. 3-2 to Bagwell with a 3-run lead for Morris. Gaetti. 2 outs. Morris rolling right along. Let's see who those 5 Smith brothers are.
How about Hal Smith?
Yeah. Jack Smith.
Jack Smith.
Who's Jack Smith? You got Hal. Who's Reggie Smith? Oh, yeah, Reggie Smith. Sure.
Reggie. Well, which one did we have that's not in there? Oh, Lee.
Yeah, Lee's not in there. Okay. He didn't pitch in 300 games.
Yeah,
he wasn't here that long.
Played here 3 years. That would have been a heavy workload, 3 or 4 years.
Moises Alou bats now, fouls it back. There's strike 1 to Mo. He was caught looking in the second. That's right. I forgot Reggie Smith was here that long. Boy, you might wonder 20, 30 years from now when folks are asking these questions on games like this, with all the player movement that there's bound to be in the next 20 or 30 years, if anybody can get any of these questions right.
300 game threshold might be too many.
Yeah.
Name the 5 Smiths that have played 100 games.
Alou loops one. McGuire over for the grab to make it a 1-2-3-4 for Morris, a 3-0 lead for the Cardinals. look back as the Astros trail at 3-0 in the bottom of the 4th inning, and what happened on this date in Astros baseball history, brought to you by Sonic. It was yesterday, the anniversary of Larry's no-hitter against Montreal, a 6-0 win, and yesterday marked his 138th win as a manager, one more than what he won as a Houston pitcher. He also finished his career here in St. Louis, so we've got all kinds of connections for Mr. D.
I think he just won a couple of games with the Redbirds, didn't he?
Yeah,
so
just 2.
One more win and he'll have tied his pitching win total.
That's right.
For whatever that's worth.
Luis Ordaz squirts one over to first base coach Dave McKay. There's strike 1. Ordaz grounded out to third in the 2nd inning. He'll be followed by the pitcher Morris and the catcher Marrero. Florida leads Atlanta 1-0 in the bottom of the 8th. Jesus Sanchez pitching a gem against Denny Nagel. Curveball, and it's 0-2 to Ordaz. Bobby Cox was a little chafed at his 2 players from Curacao arriving close to game time last night. Andrew Jones and Randall Simon. Biggio covers a lot of ground to his left, and it's a short throw. 1 away as he gets Ordaz.
Apparently those guys had flights canceled. They were coming back yesterday and expected to be back in plenty of time. Flight got canceled, had to take a later flight, and showed up just a few minutes before game time.
Jones was in the original starting lineup. That was changed. He got in later as a pinch hitter, but Bobby made the point, why would a player risk traveling on the day of the game? Why didn't he come in on Wednesday from Curacao? Matt Morris takes strike 1. He struck out in the 2nd inning.
Probably not a whole lot of flights out of Curacao.
No, there couldn't be too many. But you know who knew that flight schedule from Curacao to Miami? Tony Eusebio.
Is that right?
Yeah, his mother used to live there. 0-2. He said, well, I could have told Andrew Jones and Randall Simon, you go through Puerto Rico on the way in. There are a lot more flights to choose from that way. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Tony will not be opening his own travel agency soon, but he does know the flight schedule. Phillies lead the Pirates 6-5 in the 6th. It's a foul ball. Kurt Schilling's ERA probably taking a bruising in that one. He's still in there for the Phils. He's slowed a little bit in that pace for the record strikeout season, trying to break Nolan Ryan's 383. He's now fallen behind that clip. Montreal in front of the Mets, 4-3 in the 6th. Strike 3 call. Morris caught looking. Hampton gets his 3rd strikeout. Hampton's only allowed more than 3 earned runs twice in his first 16 starts. Gave up 3 unearned runs in his last start and a couple of unearned runs in one of his other starts this season. So if he holds the line right here with the Astros offense, he has a good chance for his club to get back in it, especially with Morris being on a pitch count. Otherwise, it might be big trouble the way he's thrown so far. Eli Marrero single to trigger that 3-run rally. There's strike 1 to Marrero. Tony La Russa's club still battling away, 13.5 back. Foul ball, 0-2. The Cardinals won 2 out of 3 from the Astros in Houston. And after they won that series, La Russa's Redbirds trailed by 8.5. So they've fallen 5 games further back since then. Not exactly called making a run at the leaders. Foul ball, still 0-2.
Well, they're going to have one of those second half runs like the 1914 Boston Braves.
Oh, yeah, the Miracle Braves. You were talking about the 51 Dodgers last night. 64 Cardinals were a fine team. They've had many great ones here. 1-2. But if they don't win this series, if they don't start making a move before the trade deadline, July 31st, they might not be the same team come August. Swing at a pitch in the dirt, and there's a strikeout of Marrero. Mike Hampton gets it back together with a 1-2-3 4th inning. After 4, 3-0 Cardinals.
Redbirds 3, Astros no score. As we head to the 5th inning, Astro fans, we're going to let you jump on the bandwagon. Prorated season ticket plan is now on sale through July 15th. Seats are available in all seating areas, including field box, mezzanine, and loge levels. Plans also include options for playoff tickets, reserved parking, and priorities on tickets at the new ballpark.
Oh, there's the Cardinal Hall of Fame. You know, that one I think is from 26. Yeah, the 27 Cardinals actually had world champions, as you saw, on the uniform. I don't know if any team's ever done that other than that year. Really unusual. Over the years, the Redbirds perched on the bats in the different uniform styles from their Hall of Fame here. There's strike one to Carl Everett leading off the 5th inning.
A great uni they have.
Now in 26, they beat the Yankees in the World Series. That was a very intriguing end to that series. Everett shows bunt again. It's strike two. In the 26 World Series, Babe Ruth was thrown out trying to steal second base for the final out of the series with Lou Gehrig at the plate.
Wow.
Foul back.
Is that a 7-gamer?
I think it was. I'm not sure. Might have been 6.
What was the Babe thinking about?
I have no earthly idea. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Long and storied tradition. The Redbirds want to get back there after winning the division in '96. Everett strikes out. Boy, Morris just carved him up. When he was showing bunt, there was a fastball right down the middle, so it just didn't work out for Carl at bat.
It's bad when you're taking the strike and swinging at the balls. Usually bad things result.
Yeah, normally you're working your way into a slump when that's the case. Ricky Gutierrez grounds one off the pitcher. Ordaz there to flip him out. 2 away from 1 to 4 to 3. Let's see what else they have for us down in the Hall of Fame. 82 world champions.
The Brewers.
64 world champions.
Another one of those, oh, so much a miracle finish as it collapsed by the Phils.
Yes, it was. Beautiful trophy. Now that's the Brewers emblem along with theirs. That was from '82. And a nice Hall of Fame. 2 outs and Brad Ausmus is the batter. 3-0 Cardinals. There's strike one to Ausmus. He singled up the middle in the 3rd inning. The Astros have only 2 singles off Morris so far.
What to do now is get some footage of the Bowling Hall of Fame across the street.
You've been over there on almost a yearly visit, haven't you?
Well, I haven't been there in quite some time, but I used to.
You used to make that pilgrimage. You and Neil Holfeld would roll a few lines, wouldn't you?
Yes, we did. We got a tour by the curator and everything. Served some nice chili dogs. Got to bowl on the old-fashioned lanes with pin setters.
Golly, you guys were really uptown. Ausmus on a breaking ball takes it in the dirt. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And you loved it because you always like throwing strikes.
Yeah, and after you throw those strikes, nobody hits them.
Ausmus to the second baseman Ordaz. Morris continues to be right on target. And he hasn't allowed a hit since the 3rd inning. He leads it 3-0. Houston Astros baseball is being brought to you in part by Southwestern Bell, your friendly neighborhood global communications company. Also by Sonic, where we invite you to drive in for a change. And by Cash 5. Now you can play 4 times a week. You can also play for that $1,000 if an Astro hits a home run and you call the shot. Right here on 51, we'll have that game coming your way again. On Sunday, don't forget it's the first couple of innings that you call to enter, so you need to be in early. 3-0 Cardinals right here. They got their 3-run homer from Ray Lankford in the 3rd inning. Mike Hampton then gave up a single after getting the next 2 batters. Got the side in order in the 4th. The way Morris is pitching, it appears he's going to have to keep doing what he did in the 4th inning, Jim.
They're going to have to hold the Cardinals at bay, and hopefully the Astros can do some damage against the Cardinals bullpen.
Royce Clayton's 2 for 2. They strike one to Clayton.
You're talking about those miracle comebacks, Brownie. The 64 Cardinals were actually 11 games back on August 23rd.
Ooh. 0-2. Now that was one of those races, as you mentioned, with the Phillies collapsing, involving some other teams as well. The Reds were involved right up to the last day.
Reds actually finished second.
Got a story about that for you in a moment. Told by Pete Rose several years ago. Whoop, upstairs, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rose said, I knew we were in trouble when I came to the ballpark that final day of the '64 season, and our starting pitcher, John Tesaurus, had his car parked outside with a trailer all packed up to go home for the season.
Oh, no.
Bouncer to third. Billy Spires, tough pickup on the short hop. There's one out. Nicely done by Spires. He made some fabulous plays last night as well.
Yeah, he has really made some really nice plays. It seems like he's not getting any breaks with the hops. He's had to handle some tough hops the last 2 nights, but the hands have been there for him.
Spires takes care of the first out. First time Clayton's been retired. Now Ray Lankford, who on an 0-2 pitch ripped one for a 3-run homer in the third. He walked in the first inning. Here's strike one. We have a correction on that Phillies score. Phillies are shutting out Pittsburgh 4-0 in the 5th. Kurt Schilling. Ball 1 to Lankford. 1 ball and 1 strike. Montreal beat the Mets last night. Expos lead it again 4-3 in the 6th inning for Carlos Perez. 1-2. Some of the scouts say look for Perez to be traded before the deadline. Kerry Wood and the Cubs over Milwaukee 2-1 top of the 4th inning. Scott Carl going for Phil Garner's ball club. Lankford takes strike 3. So Hampton is getting Clayton and Lankford back to back. First time either's been retired tonight.
And guy we just saw hit that home run takes a slider for Mike Hampton. Nice pitch. That caught looking heater, I believe.
Here's McGuire now. 0 for 2 tonight, but he hit a line drive. Spires had to go up and get it, and it was an absolute bullet in the 3rd inning. Ball 1 to McGuire. San Francisco and Colorado in a rain delay. They haven't started yet. Sean Estes and Darryl Kyle. Kyle's name mentioned among trade possibilities today. Up the right field line, foul. Bagwell over. It's out of play for him. 1-1. You don't think the Rockies would deal Kyle, do you?
I don't know. I've noticed his name in a couple rumors lately.
Kind of mysterious here. McGuire not hitting lefties this year. 235 against them. 2 years ago, as you saw, he had a phenomenal batting average against the Southpaws. This one to center field. Everett waiting. That's a 1-2-3 5th, and Hampton has retired 7 in a row. 9 straight for Morris, who takes up the baseball for the 6th inning, leading 3-0.
Nothing your score. Redbirds over the Astros Sunday 19th of July. Astros and the Giants play at 1:35, and the first 25,000 fans will receive a poster featuring the 1998 Houston Astros team photo.
3-0 Redbirds. There's Matt Morris with ball 1 to Mike Hampton. Hampton put down a sac bunt in the 3rd inning. 9 straight have been set down by Morris. Hampton flares one into right center, and that'll drop for a hit. Well, the outfielders were fairly close together to start, but Lankford and Jordan could not get there to make the grab, and Hampton gets only the 3rd hit, all singles by the Astros. That's his 8th base hit of the year.
Good job right there, fighting off a high fastball from Matt Morris, still rushing it up there in the mid-90s.
That's a start for the Astros. Their pitcher batting 9th. could be triggering a rally here. Craig Biggio 0 for 2. Biggio to second. And Clayton makes it a double play ball. Just like that, Morris erases the base runner. Has 2 outs, nobody on for Bill Spires.
When you get the feeling you're starting to climb an uphill battle. Pitcher reaches, got the top of the order, chance to do some damage, and 1 pitch later he's got 2 outs and nobody on a tailor-made 4-6-3 double play.
Sure was. 81st of the year for the Cardinals. Bill Spires taking some extra time so Hampton could get a little breather. Spires is 0 for 2. Ball 1 to Bill. Later, San Diego's at Los Angeles. Kevin Brown versus Darren Dreifert. Dodgers scored a lot of runs yesterday in beating the Padres 12-3. Strike call 1-1. We understand through the grapevine that Tommy Lasorda made that trade for Jeff Shaw. He made the deal so quickly, nobody checked out Shaw's contract, didn't know that now he could demand a trade at the end of this season because he's unhappy about that deal. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, any player traded in the middle of a multi-year deal has the right to demand a trade, right?
Yes, sir. And Shaw signed for what was felt to be below market value so he could stay close to home and play. He was commuting about an hour from Cincinnati to the games. 2-2 to Spires.
Every organization has to have at least one guy who knows that blue book of all the rules inside out.
Yeah, that's really a critical spot because some guys slip through the cracks sometimes, get away from an organization. There's so much red tape involved. There has to be somebody who really knows the ins and outs, the waiver process and other things. Fly ball left field. And it's caught by McGee moving over toward the line. No runs ahead, nobody left. Middle of the 6th inning, 3-0 Cardinals.
Exactly right. People just come out to the ballpark and really get into it. Of course, the McGuire thing doesn't hurt either. People are caught up in that all over the country. Certainly here in St. Louis, probably more so than anywhere else.
Now the man behind McGuire in the order, Brian Jordan, leads it off. 3-0 Cardinals. Jordan, who's 0 for 2, takes ball 1. Mike Hampton has retired 7 in a row, but Matt Morris has even been tougher than that tonight. Morris has really pitched a fine first 6 innings. We're looking out at the Cardinal bullpen right now. They do not have a pitcher warming up yet. Strike, it's 1-1.
We were hoping that maybe for the Astros' sake, Morris, having not been on a big league mound since April, would be a little either anxious or rusty or whatever, but he's just been flat out dominant.
Ground ball off the leg of Jordan, 1-2. Gauntlet has been thrown down certainly to the Astros hitters and also to Mike Hampton, who knows what he's up against. Even though he did just get a base hit, he realizes there's not much happening for the Astros offensively, and they lead the league in runs scored. Bouncer to short. Gutierrez in a perfect position. 1 away. You know, you have to appreciate the work of a guy in Hampton's spot tonight, though, Jim. He realizes it's probably going to be very difficult as long as Morris is in there, unless he does a fast fade. Even if he does, Tony will go to the bullpen quickly, and he probably is thinking he can't afford to give anything more up.
Give up that 3-run home run, you're right. He's probably thinking he's just got to string a bunch of zeros up there and hang on. Wait to do some damage late.
Willie McGee's 1 for 2. He bloops one out over Biggio's head, but Biggio gets back to grab it on the run. Nice play for the second out. He got a nice jump on that one.
Look at Bidge going back on that soft liner. That's a tough play because it wasn't hit all that high, so he couldn't afford to take his eye off it at all.
2 outs for Hampton. Gary Gaetti next. Scott Ellerton's warming up in the Houston bullpen. Gaetti's 0 for 2. Gaetti checked his swing on appeal to Mike Winters. There's ball 1 to Gary. Ordaz on deck. Two balls and no strikes. Cardinals are on an 11-game homestand. They'll welcome Cincinnati and the Dodgers after the Astros leave in this 4-game set. So if Tony La Russa's club really puts together a miracle run, it might be an interesting July for them. 3-0, but the immediacy is really there for them in this series, Jim.
Yeah, an opportunity, obviously playing the first place club to do some damage.
3-1.
And I wonder if the days of those miracle comebacks, obviously there still will be some, but tougher now because of the economics where teams that feel like they can't win are unloading.
Yes, sir. Ball 4 to Gaetti. Interesting to read in some of the articles about Bud Selig becoming commissioner that that'll be one of the tasks that he will have, trying to shore up the differences between the big market and small market clubs.
And John Fair pointed out that that's been the task at hand for a while for Bud Selig. You know, what he's trying to do probably won't change a whole lot. His title has changed, but still be working on the same things, expanding the game globally, and trying to get things balanced out between the big markets and the small markets.
Ordaz takes ball 1. He's 0 for 2. A team like the Cardinals, for instance, with a payroll of about $52 million, has the resources to go even higher if the Cardinals work their way back into the race. Bouncer to Hampton. Nice play with a quick glove hand. And he gets Ordaz to end the 6th inning. No runs, no hits, and a man left. Moving to the 7th, it's 3-0 St. Louis. The Astros' top 5 in the order has been held to a 1 for 12 evening with 4 strikeouts by Matt Morris. Mike Hampton's having a good night of it, but the Astros might be forced to get him out of the ball game. Ray Lankford hit a 3-run homer in the 3rd inning off Hampton. McGuire 0 for 3. Matt Morris threw 70 pitches. He struck out 6. He's now gone. John Frascatore takes over for the 7th inning, but that's quite a way from Morris to break back into the rotation for St. Louis, Jim.
Yeah, nice to see Morris out of the ball game. He was outstanding, just 3 singles. So efficient, 6 innings, 70 pitches.
Frascatore 1 and 2. His ERA 4.12. He'll be facing the Astros for the 3rd time this year. He's walked 22 and fanned 35 and 54 and 2/3 innings. Here's where it could get dicey for Tony La Russa. His bullpen is 13 and 14 with a 4.80 ERA, 23 saves and 18 blown saves. So Craig Biggio and company are hoping they can stir things up here in the 7th.
Frascatore had a breakthrough year of sorts last year with the Cardinals. Was 5-2 with a 248 in 59 games. 28 years old. He's got a good live arm.
Frascatore leads the staff in appearances. This is his 38th, and he leads the bullpen in innings pitched with those 54 and 2/3 innings. 15 of his 37 outings have been at least 2 innings. Derek Bell got a hit in the 1st inning. He's 1 for 2. The Astros have been held to 3 singles tonight. They've been blanked 3 times this year. Bouncer in the hole. Clayton. 1 out on 1 pitch for Frascatore. Frascatore has pitched 3 innings, allowing 4 hits and 1 run against the Astros this year. He closed out a 9-4 win for St. Louis in Houston and gave up the 1 run in a couple of innings in a 7-6 Cardinal win. Run scoring on a wild pitch, but he had a 3-run lead at that time. Jeff Bagwell faces him next. He's 0 for 2 with 2 groundouts. Frascatore throws an off-speed pitch. There's ball 1. Cardinals have been piecing this bullpen together because of injuries and because of Jeff Brantley coming back from surgery. Bagwell hit a big home run off Brantley in a game started by Todd Stottlemyre in Houston. That was one of the Astros' great come-from-behind wins in the late innings this year. Alou on deck to count 2-0 to Jeff. Gaetti. 2 outs. Cardinals have had a lot of easy chances for their fielders tonight.
For two guys who really ride the fastball, Morris and Frascatori. Of course, Frascatori just 2/3 of innings, but a lot of balls hit on the ground tonight.
Sure have been. Moises Alou struck out looking in the second, popped up in the fourth. Frascatori was drafted in '91 in the 24th round. Strike one. Cardinals have been one of those clubs that have had very good success in drafting pitchers in the first round over the years.
Last year, their whole rotation was first-round guys.
That's right.
Osborne, the Venice boys,
Yeah,
Morris, the Stottlemyre, I think the only one that wasn't.
Yeah, they had Todd Worrell for all those years. He was a great pick. No balls and 2 strikes. You know, J.D. Drew is there's strike 3, off to a fabulous start at Double-A as well. Frascatori is a 1-2-3 7th inning, 3-0 Cardinals. Now our Southwestern Bell Around the League scoreboard will catch you up on what's been happening elsewhere around the National League. The Marlins are leading Atlanta now 3-0 in the 9th inning. Jesus Sanchez has given way to a reliever. Phillies 7, Pirates 5 in the 7th. The Expos are trying to beat the Mets again. It's 4-3 Montreal in the 6th. Cubs and Brewers tied 2-2 in the 5th with Kerry Wood going for Chicago. Giants and Rockies in a rain delay with Kyle pitching for Colorado whenever they start. Reds and Diamondbacks later. Tomko and Venice. Padres and Dodgers later. Brown and Dryford. Mike Hampton's out of this ball game after 6 innings. He allowed 5 hits and 3 runs. All 3 of those runs came on 1 swing of the bat, and Scott Ellerton replaces him. This will be Ellerton's 5th major league outing. 2 of them starts. He has no wins or losses, an ERA of 4.96. This is his 3rd relief outing with very good numbers so far, Jim.
And most impressive numbers are 20 strikeouts and only 4 walks in 16 1/3. You talk to the scouts, and they're following the Astros from some of the other big league clubs, and they're really impressed with what they've seen of Scott Ellerton.
Here's Placido Polanco pinch hitting now with a ground ball to shortstop, and Gutierrez gets him on 1 pitch for Ellerton. That's the big question about Scott Ellerton. How effective can he be as a reliever? He's been a starter all along, but so far 4 major league innings, 1 hit, and no runs in relief. 1 walk and 5 strikeouts, Jim.
I think the key is how he's used. I don't imagine that he'll pitch back-to-back nights very often, if at all. They'll probably get him in a situation where they feel like they can throw him for a couple of innings. Of course, he's due up 4th.
Good fastball to Marrero. There's strike 1 as he really let fly with a bat.
Due up 4th next inning, so this probably will be his only inning of work.
Popped up to the right side. Biggio out, Bell in. Bell, 2 outs. Well, this is already a good sign for tonight's game for Ellerton. Coming right after the hitters, getting them to put the ball in play. He's not really going for the strikeouts. This has characterized his development through the Astros system. Just a very mature, intelligent approach on the mound, Jim.
Yeah, very aggressive. He's got very good stuff. The thing I like best about him is how he uses his size, where the ball comes to home plate.
Layton in the air, foul, strike 1.
One of the things pitching coaches preach about is the plane of the ball as it approaches the plate, having that downward angle. The hitter doesn't see much of the ball.
Breaking pitch, 1 ball, 1 strike. Ellerton's major league debut was as a starter against Cincinnati. He was in a position to win that game, but got no decision. Throws the changeup, and it's 2-1. You have to like this too. He's in a 3-0 ball game here. He's only had 4 major league outings, and he's throwing all of his pitches. Fastball popped up. Bagwell over. Osmus giving way to the first baseman. That's a 1-2-3-7 for Scott Ellerton, keeping the score 3-0 Cardinals after 7. 3-0 lead for the Cardinals. The Astros will be batting in the top of the 8th. Let's look ahead a little bit and show you what's happening on KNWS Sunday. At 1 o'clock, it's the Astros and Cardinals with the finale of this 4-game series. Sean Bergman, 8-4 against Juan Acevedo. He's 3-2. Join us at 1 Sunday. And then the Astros move on to Arizona. That's our next telecast on Fox Sports Southwest. Wednesday night. Now, this game has been moved back a half an hour later to 9:30 p.m. Houston time. Wednesday night. And that'll be the finale of this 7-game road trip. Here in St. Louis, before a big Friday night crowd, the Cardinals are leading it 3-0. They've shut down the Astros on just 3 singles, and the Astros also have not drawn 1 single walk in this game. John Frascatore had a 1-2-3 7th inning. Faces Carl Everett, who's fanned twice tonight. There's ball 1 to Everett. Unusually quiet night for the Houston Bats so far. Two balls and no strikes to Everett. Ricky Gutierrez to follow. Brad Osmus due up third in the frame. It's 3-0. The Astros looking for any kind of a start they can get. They've had the leadoff man on in the 3rd and the 6th on singles. Nothing blossomed. Everett takes a walk.
Very nice job, Brownie, in mentioning the fact that the Cardinals hadn't walked anybody yet tonight.
One of those broadcasters' jinxes you run into every now and then. Oh, Frascatore, who can sometimes experience those control problems. And he walks the leadoff man. That surely will bring a call to the bullpen, as it does from Tony La Russa. Ricky Gutierrez is 0 for 2. Cardinals have had to tiptoe through the late innings when they've had a lead this year. There's ball 1. They've used a dozen different starting pitchers and a lot of guys in different combinations in the pen. Curtis King, Mark Pitkazik are warming up now. Dave Duncan going out. 5 straight balls have been thrown here in the 8th inning by Frascatore. Over one stretch this year, Jim, they lost 11 out of 14. And relievers surrendered 3 home runs from the 9th through the 11th inning when they lost a game to the White Sox after they led by 4 runs with 2 out and nobody on in the 9th.
That's a heartbreaker. But they must have gotten bad medical reports on Jeff Brantley.
Yeah, they must have.
Bring him in here, make him their closer.
1-0. 1 ball, 1 strike to Gutierrez.
I shouldn't say bad medical reports. I should say inaccurate medical reports that said he was saying that he was healthy.
Yeah, Brantley's just a very gutsy closer. Had a terrific career. Has really struggled coming off the surgery he had before they traded for him.
And whereas there are some pitchers who every time before they pitch they have to have that built-in excuse. Well, I'm a little tender, I'm a little sore, I've got a dead arm. Brantley's the type that would probably tell you, I'm all right, I can get somebody out. I'll figure out a way to do it.
Gutierrez to left field. Willie McGee backing on it for the grab on the warning track. Well hit ball for the first out. Everett goes back to first. That'll be Osmus. McGee still moved pretty well.
They had to move quickly on that ball. It was smoked.
Ricky doesn't hit a lot of balls there, but Willie was ready and got a nice jump. Osmus has one of the Astros' 3 hits. That was a single up the middle in the 3rd inning. He's 1 for 2. What a night for Matt Morris. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. foul. There's strike one to Ausmus. Dave Clark is in the on-deck circle. Pitcher's spot due up next. C.J. Nitkowski getting loose in the Astros bullpen. Brad Ausmus would like to put that late inning success into play right here. In the hole, glove, jump throw by Clayton, safe at second. Nice try by Royce Clayton, but Ausmus gets an infield hit. Well, that was quite an effort to make it close at second base.
I think Carl Everett was fooled that that ball stayed in the infield because he didn't slide going into second base.
You're right.
Maybe he just thought Clayton would put it in his pocket and not make a throw.
Now Dave Clark is going to be the pinch hitter for Scott Ellerton, who worked one perfect inning. Clark still looking for the key to success as a pinch hitter. He's been a very successful one over the course of his career, but this year only 148, no homers, and 2 runs batted in for Dave. The Astros have really been left wanting in the pinch hitting area this year. They're 14 for 103. 1 homer, 7 runs batted in. Clark 4 for 27 without an RBI pinch hitting. In the dirt, nice stop by Marrero. 2-0. They really like this young man's future defensively, Jim.
All the scouting reports on this kid is that he's a Gold Glove potential type guy back there. Tony La Russa did have left-hander Lance Painter up. He sits that down.
And pinch hit home runs. 3-0 to Dave Clark. Clark got some playing time as a DH in interleague play last night as a pinch hitter. He struck out in the 8th inning against Rick Croushore. Astros top pick in the June draft, Brad Lidge of Notre Dame, makes his debut tomorrow night. Little tap off the glove of Frascatore. It trickles by the second baseman, goes into right field. Everett scores. Ausmus to third, and into second base, Dave Clark. Frascatore deflected it, and then there was no play. Ball just trickled by the second baseman into right field, and the Astros are on the board, trailing 3-1. They get a break here.
Boy, do they ever. The little tapper back to the mound. Ordonez had vacated his position. He thought the ball was going to be past the pitcher. What a huge break, tying runners in scoring position.
And that'll prompt a pitching change. Dave Duncan out to go to his bullpen. Craig Biggio due up. The Astros have stirred up some trouble indeed for this Cardinal bullpen. It's a 3-1 ball game as the Cards reach for the pen, and we'll be back to tell you about it right after this. Well, it's raining. That's a surprise. But then it had been raining earlier today, and that was a possibility in the forecast. We thought maybe it had moved through the area. That complicates the issue a little bit. The Astros have rained a little bit on a shutout. They've scored. They trail by 2. They have runners at second and third, and Curtis King comes in. He's 1-0 with 2 saves and a 4.60 ERA. He inherits those 2 base runners with 1 out here in the 8th inning, Jim.
Another big right-hander, 6'5", 205, 27 years old. Holding right-handers to a 254 average.
Well, Frascatore was moving right along. He got a 1-2-3 7th and then walked the leadoff man. That triggered a scoring rally here in the 8th inning. The Astros have been quite a come-from-behind team. 26 times they've come back from trailing at one point in the game or another to win, and now they have Craig Biggio coming up.
Now, this guy is really up against it, having to face Bidge in this situation, trying to protect a 2-run lead. He's allowed 9 of 21 inherited runners to score this year. That's not a very favorable statistic.
Well, this new order Larry Dierker went with, starting in Detroit just about a month ago, has produced a 17-10 record, 6.5 runs a game, and look at all the runners in scoring position and how they've hit. Biggio has really had a fine month. Of course, he was playing well before that happened, but the big move has been with Bill Spires hitting second, and everybody else driving in Biggio and Spires. Biggio 0 for 3 tonight. 1-0 to him. King misses. It's 2 balls, no strikes. King has 5 blown saves. He got number 5 against Detroit June 22nd, and he gave up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Biggio shoots one foul, right field side. 2 balls and a strike. King ran into problems against the White Sox about a month ago. Gave up back-to-back homers in the 9th by Albert Bell and Robin Ventura. Those were the first runs he had allowed all year on home runs. 18 blown saves by the Cardinals in 41 opportunities. Biggio line drive, base hit. Osmus is home. Clark coming in. Lankford's throw to the plate, and he is safe. It's a tie ball game at 3. Craig Biggio right there in the clutch. He has 52 RBIs now, and there's another blown save for the Redbirds.
And some boos from the loyal Redbird supporters here, Brownie.
Yes, sir.
They've seen too much of this, yeah.
Boy, is Biggio having an amazing year or not?
Good teams take advantage of opportunities that are given to him. Last night, the errors. This time, an off-the-glove double, I guess, for Dave Clark. And Biggio gets a fastball in the middle of the plate, and you're not going to slip that by him.
Lankford's throw to the plate on target, but Dave Clark got in. So Clark, who delivered the RBI on a pinch double, scores the tying run, and here's Bill Spires. He's 0 for 3. Now this is big trouble for the Redbirds. They're just in those very choppy waters now. You know, in a year like this for Tony La Russa, he's made so many moves that have backfired. You just feel sometimes when you're managing a club, you get a lead with a strong pitching performance, the bullpen blows it for you. You are snake bitten.
Yeah, and that's what Larry Dierker made the point about earlier this year. Those are the toughest losses. When you feel like you have a game won and the bullpen blows it for you late, those are demoralizing for a club.
Spires takes, that's a ball. But Larry, on the other hand, has seen his club come from behind so many times. It's the opposite end of the spectrum. They just think that they're going to come up with a rally somehow, whether it's a pinch RBI double off the pitcher's glove or something to win a ball game. Of course, you know, when you get Biggio to the plate, you've got a pretty good shot.
Got so many weapons on this club. The idea that the whole lineup would be shut down on any given night is hard to fathom unless Kerry Wood is pitching.
Biggio's going, big jump. Marrero's throw on target, but he didn't get him. The jump was just too big. Marrero did everything a catcher could do, and he put it right there on the bag. Biggio gets his 27th steal, and this a big one.
Not a huge lead, but King has a pretty big delivery. You're right, Marrero made a nice throw. Very close.
3-3 ball game. He steals. Now Bill Spires knocks one out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, what that stolen base does is really allows Spires the opportunity to bear down, try to knock in the go-ahead run. And he's hitting .351 with men in scoring position.
Even though there's a left-handed hitter up there, you better keep a watchful eye on Biggio if you're the Cardinals, because he'll take third base.
Gary Gaetti well off the line. Banged off the leg of Bill Spires. Well, Biggio and Spires were each 0 for 3 until this 8th inning. The averages are very good that they're going to get on base at some point in the game. And it's just Really almost miraculous sometimes the way things come together in the late innings for this club. You just can't keep them down for that many games in a row. Spires turns on one, hits it foul. They made a good play down in the stands. For Bill, the stolen base by Biggio changes his role so much now. He doesn't have to worry about hitting into a double play. Just try to make contact with 2 strikes in the count. That's the main objective. Derek Bell on deck. Well, this would be a tremendous win if the Astros could get it. Mike Hampton now off the hook after 6 innings, allowing 5 hits and 3 runs. And he really pitched a fine game after that 3-run homer. Nice effort by Mike after that.
He pitched a heck of a ball game. Chance to get Scott Ellerton his first big league win here.
Good point. Hampton was really able to bear down when he had to. That game could have gotten out of hand, and the Astros might have had to go to their bullpen early. Starters continue to give them solid innings. Spires to center field. Long run, and Lankford makes the catch. Biggio goes back to tag. He'll still make it to third. Fine play by Lankford for the second out. Biggio was waiting. He thought maybe Spires had an extra base hit, but he still had time to tag and move over.
That ball was hit really hard, stayed on line for a long time. Lankford scrambled back, made a nice play. Good base running by Biggio. He got off where he could score if the ball falls in. He's still able to get back and tag up and get to third base easily.
That was well done. Now Derek Bell has a runner at third and 2 outs. He's 1 for 3. Jeff Bagwell on deck. Fastball upstairs. Curtis King has faced the Astros once. He came into the game in Houston on the 17th of June. 5-5 in the 9th inning, 2 outs, a man on base, and Brad Ausmus got the game-winning hit off him. He didn't get the loss, but he gave up the game-winning hit. Little chop, slowly hit the shortstop. Clayton with the play. But the Astros tie it in the 8th inning with a furious 3-run rally. On 3 base hits, they leave a man. It's 3-3. Brand new and going to the bottom of the 8th inning. Watch the Astros again Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock for your chance to win $1,000 instantly. We'll give you a number to call during the first 2 innings of the game. There it is on your screen right now. You call and pick the Astros you think will hit a home run in the 3rd. If we choose your name, your contestant, and your Astro hits a home run in the 3rd inning, you win $1,000. If he hits a grand slam, you win $25,000. Join us Sunday at 1 o'clock. It'll be Sean Bergman and Juan Acevedo. Here's C.J. Nitkowski now. Lankford, McGuire, and Jordan do up in the home 8th inning. He's 3-2 with 3 saves and a 3.12 ERA, Jim.
Hasn't pitched since July 4th. That's one of the problems with the All-Star break. You have this extended time off, and it's tough to get guys work and keep people sharp.
Has very good numbers for the year in that July 4th game against Arizona. The Astros lost it 7-4. He wasn't involved. He gave up 1 hit, 1 run in 2 innings. He got the win against the Cardinals in Houston on the 17th of June, a 6-5 ball game. He entered with a 3-run deficit in the 9th inning, pitched a hitless frame. The Astros rallied and rescued that win for him. Ray Lankford hit a 3-run homer off the starting left-hander, Mike Hampton, in the 3rd inning. He's 1 for 2 with a walk. He rips this one to the gap in right center field. Lankford has extra bases. He's headed for at least 2 bases and stops there with a double. His 18th 2-bagger.
Lankford came into this game hitting just .197 against left-handers, but hit that home run off Mike Hampton, and now first ball hitting again. It's downstairs. Apparently he likes it down there.
Lankford on with a double. Mark McGuire, the batter. McGuire's 0 for 3. Fans are booing. Apparently they thought it was going to be an intentional walk, but that's not what Brad Ausmus was signaling when he put his right hand out.
A little touchy here in St. Louis.
Yes, they are. They've seen it too many times. Ball 1.
Throwing a ball.
Yeah.
I want him to throw it up there on a tee for Big Mac.
McGuire has been walked 16 times intentionally. Two and 0. First base is open in a tie ball game. Brian Jordan, another right-handed batter, on deck. For his last 16 with men in scoring position. 3 and 0. Now it's going to be the intentional ball 4. McGuire just won't chase anything. We've just been amazed by his patience, Jim, and how he's not expanding his strike zone this year.
And almost an impossible task to try to pitch around McGuire and expect him to chase right now. He's so locked in and so disciplined at the plate. If you're going to walk him, you might as well just have the catcher step out there and throw 4.
That'll be it for Nitkowski. Larry Dierker wants a right-hander. The newcomer Jay Powell will be making his Houston debut.
Nice easy situation for Jay to come into. Making his debut, tie ball game on the road with 2 runners on.
Yes, sir, but he's been there before, and as he takes the stroll in, it's 3-3 in the 8th inning. 2 on, nobody out. We'll be right back. 3-3 ball game, and right into the eye of the hurricane goes Jay Powell. For his Astros debut, he inherits 2 base runners, nobody out in the 8th inning. 26-year-old right-hander just obtained in a trade with the Florida Marlins for #1 draft choice Ramon Castro, a Double-A catcher. And the Astros got a catcher themselves in Scott Makaravich. Powell 4-4 with 3 saves with Florida, a 4.21 ERA in 33 outings this year. Jim?
Yeah, valuable setup man last year for the world champion Marlins. Had 7 wins in relief for the Fish last year. Good strikeout numbers. Too many walks this year so far. I tell you what, anybody can struggle when you pitch for a last place club. That is a very difficult chore to pitch effectively on a bad ball club.
He was the winning pitcher in Game 7 of the World Series. Jay Powell was a first-round draft choice by Baltimore in '93. Florida got him in a trade in '94 for Brett Barbary. Powell this year, as you mentioned, Jim, struggled. Marlins did not have a good ball club, and he was going through that adjustment. 12 for 23 and inherited runners stranded. Those are not very good numbers for a guy who has been a top-notch closer in college and has saved some games in the big leagues. Brian Jordan's the batter. Jordan is 0 for 3. 2 men on and nobody out. Powell features a good sinker. The Astros could do with a double play ball right here. Jay's last outing was Friday in Montreal. In an 8-4 loss, he didn't get the decision. He gave up 1 run and 1 hit in 2 innings. Fires even with a bag at third. Bagwell pulled in at first. Jordan not bunting. He bangs one off his ankle for strike 1. Powell got a save at Baltimore against his former organization on the 1st of July, closing out a 5-3 win. He had a couple of blown saves in the early going. Might have started him toward a downward trend this season, but the Astros think they can get him back to a higher confidence level. One ball and 1 strike. Astros players really saluted this trade by Jerry Hunziker. They appreciate the talents of Jay Powell from having faced him. Lankford and McGuire, the base runners, with nobody out in the 8th. There's a good sinker. 1-2.
That's a double play pitch right there. Jordan fortunate he fouled that one back.
Powell has pitched well against the Astros. Saved a couple of games against them last year, so this pressure spot is something he's been through many times. Line drive into right, base hit. Lankford's coming around third. The ball dropped by Bell. He'll score the go-ahead run. Throw to third. Not in time to get McGuire. 4-3, St. Louis. Jordan comes through with a soft liner.
Single and E9. He goes with the slider. It's not in a bad spot. Brian Jordan's just one of the best hitters in the league. Pokes it into right field. Lankford scores. Astros catch a little bit of a break in that Jordan didn't go to second base on the throw in from Derek Bell because it sailed over the cutoff man's head.
Now the infield comes in. Willie McGee is the batter. McGee is 1 for 3. He gets a lot of high bouncing base hits. He chops down on the ball a lot. If he does that here, he could score McGuire, but McGuire, with his size, does not run well. So even if he does loop the ball in the air for a while, he might be able to make a play at the plate. They're in, so they're not really going for a double play in this situation. Ball 1 to McGee. Left field line, foul. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Astros forced to play the infield in, down a run here. And they've only got 3 outs left. Those numbers.
He's had an illustrious career. He's had many big clutch hits. Foul ball. 1-2 to Willie McGee. Jay Powell appeared twice in a series here in St. Louis for the Marlins back in May. Got a save in one of those games.
Really one of those guys, if you want to punch him out here, you can do it a couple of different ways. Down in the dirt with a sinker or way upstairs. If you're going to do that, you really want to emphasize the way up and the way down because he is a good bad ball hitter.
Moves him back. 2-2. Brian Jordan moving over to second without a play. Jordan gets his 7th stolen base. Now it's 3-2 to McGee. Late inning excitement here in St. Louis. The Astros got 3 in the top of the inning. Cardinals have scored 1 and nobody out with 2 men in scoring position now. Ground ball foul. McGee stays alive at 3-2. Jay Powell, Doug Henry, Scott Ellerton, now the 3 right-handers in the Astros bullpen. With Powell being 26, Henry 34, the Astros have gotten some young help for Doug in setting up Billy Wagner, or on nights when Wagner's not available, having someone else available to close. Base hit to right. McGuire scores. Jordan's coming in behind him. It's a 2-run single for McGee. 6-3.
McGee, one of the Cardinals who is doing very well in clutch situations this year, hitting around 300 with runners in scoring position, delivers again. And again, it's the slider from Powell.
Gary Gaetti's the batter. Gutierrez, Biggio, and Bagwell. Double up Gaetti. 2 outs, but 3 runs are in. The Astros get double play number 81 of the year. Now John Mabry will be the pinch hitter. Batting for Curtis King, who stands to be the winning pitcher the way it looks now. Larry Dierker's coming out as Mabry, the left-handed hitter, has been announced. Welcome to the ball club. A little talk to maybe reassure him, even though he's given up the go-ahead runners, that things will be all right for Jay Powell. 6-3 Cardinals. Will return right after this. Six to 3 lead for the Cardinals. The Astros have gone to their 5th pitcher of the night, Mike Magnanti. 2 men on. John Mabry is the batter with nobody out. Or 2 outs rather, and nobody on. Let's get that right. And Magnanti comes in for the first time in the second half. He's 3-3 with 1 save and a 6.03 ERA to try to get this one left-handed batter and send it on to the ninth with a 3-run deficit for Houston. Jim?
Mike Magnanti, one of those guys the Astros would like to see get turned around here in the second half. ERA up there over 6. Too many walks for Mike this year. Last year he was excellent in not allowing the base-off balls.
Well, Jay Powell is charged with 2 hits and 1 run in 2/3 of an inning. But the loser could be C.J. Nitkowski, the way the game looks right now. Maybe the Astros have another rally in them in the 9th inning. They have Bagwell, Alou, and Everett due up. So if they can keep the deficit at 3, they have a shot. But Willie McGee's hit certainly has opened it up for St. Louis with a 3-run lead. Now John Mabry's the batter. Tony La Russa's club has rallied to regain the lead here. Mabry was the starter at third base last night, going 0 for 3 with a walk. .259 for him, 6 homers and 28 runs batted in. There's strike 1 to Mabry. Cardinals are getting a right-hander loose for the 9th inning. Mabry takes 1 ball and 1 strike.
I believe that's Jeff Brantley.
Looks like Jeff. Yes, it is. Now we can see him. Mabry on appeal, checked his swing. Steve Ripley with a call. 2 balls and a strike to Mabry. Cardinals have only won 4 times in their final at bat this year. They've lost a dozen times in their opponent's final at bat. Strike, it's 2-2. Placido Polanco in the on deck circle. Tony La Russa made a double switch earlier in the game. Those pitchers actually in the number 7 spot. He's moved him up from 8 earlier. Up the middle. Gutierrez spins, throws, and by Bagwell. Safe at first. Here's a little flip, but Mabry gets back. Gutierrez didn't have much of a shot. Then when he bounced the throw, it went by Bagwell. Looked like a hit all the way, and it is a hit for Mabry.
Ricky makes this play, he would have had Ozzie smiling in the booth next door.
Looked like he would have gotten him
Yeah,
at the throw.
I think he would have. How much he gets on that throw falling. Yeah, they would have had him. Mabry started to turn, so he had to scramble back.
That's hit number 9 for the Redbirds. Mabry coming off the bench to get it. Now Placido Polanco, the batter. As a pinch hitter, he grounded out in the 7th inning. Stayed in to play second base. Strike one from Mike Magnati. Very interesting night. The Cardinals got an overwhelming performance from Matt Morris. 6 innings of 3-hit shutout ball. Their bullpen blew that lead. Now they have another lead to try to protect. Gutierrez tosses to Biggio for the final out of the 8th inning. The Cardinals come back with a 3-run 8th, just as the Astros did. They lead it 6-3 going to the 9th. Houston Astros baseball on KNWS is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With fares so low you have the freedom to go places. And by Southwestern Bell, your friendly neighborhood global communications company. 9th inning coming your way next. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Houston Astros. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the Houston Astros. 6-3 Cardinals. Jeff Brantley comes in to try to get the save. He has 12 saves and 16 tries, coming back from surgery during the offseason. He was traded after that surgery to the Cardinals for Dimitri Young from Cincinnati. He's 0-4 with a 4.81 ERA, and he took a really hard loss to swallow against the Astros in Houston in a game in which he came in 5-2 in the 8th inning with a couple of men on base. And Jeff Bagwell hit a 2-run homer off him. He wound up giving up 4 runs in 1 inning in that one, Jim.
Yeah, Brantley, a veteran guy, knows how to pitch, does not have the overpowering fastball. Relies on a good splitter, good slider. Kind of reminds me of a Dave Smith in terms of stuff and a body.
Quite a confrontation right here. Brantley's probably very happy he has a 3-run lead facing Bagwell. Bagwell has worn him out over the careers of both these top performers. Brantley might be getting things together. He struck out the side in a scoreless 8th on Sunday at Cincinnati after the first batter he faced reached on an error. And he said when the Cardinals were in Houston 3 weeks ago that he thought by the time these two clubs met again, he'd be coming around much better. Bagwell 0 for 3 tonight. There's ball 1 on a breaking pitch. Bagwell's had several late big home runs against Brantley when they've squared off in the past. One ball and 1 strike. Career .421 with 3 bombs. Back in '92, Brantley gave it up. Bagwell had a game-winning homer off him in San Francisco that year. 2 balls and a strike.
I'm surprised he's not being a little bit more aggressive, even though it is Jeff Bagwell with a 3-run lead.
Bagwell homered off Brantley when he was a Red in '96 to give him a blown save. And then the bomb earlier this year. 3 balls and a strike.
He's up there. He's pitching to Jeff like Jeff's in a game-tying or a game-winning situation, really trying to nibble.
Ball 4. He walks the leadoff man. That meant trouble for John Frascatore in the last inning. Astros got 3 in that frame. Moises Alou follows. Alou's 0 for 3. McGuire is going to play at first base, holding Bagwell. Brantley checking over there. Bagwell had tremendous jumps in stealing a couple of bases last night. Cardinals want to keep the double play in order for Brantley. There's ball 1 to Alou.
Moises pulls the ball so much on the ground. That's probably why they're going to go ahead and hold Jeff. If Moises, their scouting reports showed that he shot the ball through that hole on the right side a lot, they'd probably have Mark playing behind Jeff.
Good fastball, 1-1. Brantley, 34 years old. Last year, he pitched only 13 times with the shoulder problems, had surgery in June. Tony La Russa has been hoping against hope that Brantley will get back to that top form. He has 142 career saves. Alou fouls it back. 1-2. Brantley lost the game in the 9th inning at Los Angeles in early June, and then about 9 days later lost on a 3-run homer in the 9th at Arizona by Travis Lee. So the long balls have really come back to bite this young guy. 34 years old, still pretty young, but as relievers go, that's kind of old. Well, if Dennis Eckersley can keep going after 40.
Lee Smith,
it's becoming more and more relative with age on a closer. Brantley pitched 113 innings one year. That was in '93. And he has started some games in the past. Alou rips one to third. Gaetti and Polanco. Double play. Gary Gaetti got that throw on to second base. Looked a little low, but the Cardinals turned it.
Gary, you're supposed to be guarding the line.
Yeah.
Like Polanco didn't even get the bag with that foot.
Yeah, he's straddling it. That was a neighborhood call.
Oh, he never got it.
By Larry Poncino.
One thing to get it and come off it, but he never got there.
Nope. Now it's Carl Everett. He struck out twice, walked and scored. There's ball one. There was a call a few days ago on a play like that, and it was called safe at second base on a double play pivot. Normally you see the out call on that, even though he's not touching the bag. 1-1. Cardinals trying to square this series, snap their 4-game losing streak. It's been a tailspin for Tony La Russa. They have Kent Mercker, a lefty, going tomorrow against Jose Lima. As Mark McGuire said after last night's game, we were hoping to gain several games in this series, hoping to gain 4. He said now we can only gain 2, so it's quite a difference with the fact that the Astros won the game last night. 1-2.
Now they also have to be aware of the wild card situation. That's a much more realistic goal for the Redbirds right now.
Sure is. They're ready for Brantley to end it here. Montreal leads the Mets 8-6 in the 9th. Cubs and Milwaukee 2-2 in the 7th. Kerry Wood still in the game. Strike 3 call, and Brantley gets the save.
Gary Darling just ejected Carl Everett.
Yep.
He's got a short fuse, and I've seen him do that before. He wants that game over. He's going to really open up the strike zone.
Yeah, he tossed Everett, so there'll be a fine for Carl. And La Russa's club now 41-47, handing the Astros a setback. Houston's lead may slip over the Cubs depending on what they do, and King the winner, Nitkowski the loser. Brantley gets the save. It's 6-3 Cardinals tonight.